Hello newcomers and old, I am KawScratches, and thank you for joining me to take a look at what I found. It's no secret that found footage is a font of aspiration. To accomplish much with very little is the idea of every novice movie director. And the seeming simplicity of found footage appeals to many novices hoping to pull a Sam Raimi and become an overnight household name. Because of this, the genre is loaded, I mean bursting, with passion projects. The first tentative steps of the scriptwriters, directors, and actors that one day everyone may know the name of. It also means there's a whole lot of crap. The Gallows was such a passion project, written and directed by Chris Loafing and Travis Clough. It tells the story of four friends involved in the new production of the eponymous school play, The Gallows. 20 years ago, a prop malfunction resulted in the death of Charlie Grimmel during its opening night, but now a group of passionate drama students have decided to recreate the production. The group this movie follows are planning to sabotage the set, making sure the play will never be performed. But rumor has it the school is still haunted by the ghost of Charlie Grimmel, and their attempt to derail the production may invoke the rage of forces beyond their understanding. Filming and writing started sometime in 2011, and upon completion, a trailer was circulated online, which somehow found its way to the talent agency Management 360, who reached out to the two and put them in contact with Jason Blum, who offered them real cinematic resources to remake the film under his banner. So there exist two versions of this film, the original and the Blumhouse version. Blumhouse Productions, and by extension its CEO Jason Blum, is a little bit like the adoptive father of contemporary horror. If during the 2010s you happen across a critically acclaimed indie horror movie and watched it to find it really didn't live up to the hype, chances are it was either produced by or branded as if by Blumhouse Productions. Insidious, Sinister, Oculus, Split, and even a few movies with more than one word in the title. That's not to say I think Blumhouse always disappoints. Their success includes Martyrs, The Purge, and we can't forget Para-fucking-normal Activity. And in fact, when you look at their work in the genre, an interesting pattern emerges. Most of their best films are found footage movies. Surprise, surprise, I think that. But the point is, just because a movie has Blumhouse in its credits, doesn't mean you don't have to be wary going in. So, let's watch The Gallows and find out if this coin toss will propagate Blumhouse's good name, or there is a reason why I'm starting by disparaging. The movie starts with an old-timey video recording of the climax of The Gallows, the opening night 1995.
Charlie's doing such a good job.
I am no more.
Yeah, I'm really surprised considering the last minute change, but it looks good.
You ever hear dialogue and you immediately know it's expository?
Did a great job on The Gallows.
Foreshadowing or ego stroking? Who can tell?
By hanging on this 29th day.
Well, I guess he can. So yeah, the first production of The Gallows went a bit wrong. Let's quickly move past it and jump 20 years into the future year of 2015, when the school where it happened is setting up the production again. And immediately there's something wrong with this picture. You're telling me the local drama club would willingly produce this play in the same venue where it first premiered after a local kid died during its first performance? You're not allowed to say Macbeth in theaters due to superstition. And you expect me to believe that people in this town are so callous they would actually let this fly? That's one hell of a suspension bridge you want me to build over my disbelief. Tell me, how do you plan on assisting me with that?
You're joking worse than Charlie did.
Okay, so one guy is an obtuse regret of his sadomasochistic parents, and I could definitely see him not giving a shit about superstition or sensitivity towards those affected by the tragedy, but still, it's one guy. I mean, there's gotta be, a few thousand people in that town? He can't be representative of the majority. I mean, for the filmmakers to pull off that impression, they need to make... No.
My boy's gonna be a superstar. Yes.
I'm gonna long for every one of them to die, aren't I? Well, let's hope the wait's worth it at least. In found footage tradition, all of the characters are named after their actors. Our leading man Reese is played by Reese Mishler, and his character is a jock who doesn't want to be defined by his peers anymore. And he's got a crush on the leading lady of the play, Pfeiffer, played by Pfeiffer Ross. She's a prize for Reese to win, and has about as much depth as... Who are you? Oh, you're dying too. That's Cassidy, played by Cassidy Spilker, who is the girlfriend of our cameraman Ryan, played by Ryan Shoes. His character is... how do I describe it? You know Full Metal Jacket? When Liame screams at Vincent D'Onofrio?
It looks to me like the best part of you ran down to cracking your mama's ass and ended up as a brown stain on the mattress.
Well, imagine Ryan's parents scooped up the brown stain and slipped it back into his mouth. That I did not think that similar proof. I am so sorry for making you imagine that. Accurate though, as he's very concerned about Reese being lame for playing the lead. Tells Pfeiffer Reese likes her as soon as he finds out, and when he learns the back door to the theater can't be locked, suggests they sabotage the set. That way, Reese doesn't have to embarrass himself on stage at the same time as he can be a shoulder for Pfeiffer to cry on when the play is cancelled. Now, given the fact he likes Pfeiffer, and this play is important to her, being the good guy that he is, Reese of course has some serious qualms before he says yes. We're not even supposed to like our lead in this movie. There's a lot of things we need to establish first though, like the original hangman's mask existing, the stage ropes being subject to oscillation, and the theater being absolutely enormous. And with the plan made, Ryan picks up Reese for a quote-unquote study session together with his girlfriend. Which is probably the first time that phrase hasn't been a metaphor for sex.
Reese, can you please explain to us what it is about Pfeiffer? Because I don't see it.
For one, she doesn't look like a kid's coloring book. Why do teen horrors still pretend these characters would be popular anywhere? A hop, jump, and a skip later, they're trespassing, walking around the dark corridors while commenting on how spooky everything is. Which leads me to one of the major problems with this film. The setting isn't scary. Not only can you tell what the rooms are like and what's in them, the rooms are completely unthreatening. They're colorful, full of life, and an effort to make the environment as pleasant as possible for the students. I mean, it wouldn't have worked, and I'm sure if I'd gone to that school I'd be creeped out being there at night, but as an adult looking in, no, this place is not scary. And turning the lights off don't make it scary. In Rorschach, the darkness obscured the setting, isolated the characters and washed out the colors of the environment, making it seem threatening, with no one being sure what's outside the flashlight. The Gallows, however, keeps so many lights on throughout the corridors your imagination has no leeway to run rampant. You can see what's there, there is no mystery or unease. It's just boring. Back to the movie, Ryan suddenly decides to go for a side quest, seeking vengeance on another kid for pulling a prank on him earlier, by switching out his performance shirt with something else.
Here's option number 1. Number 2, which is my personal favorite. I hope you enjoy it as well.
You're an idiot. The nipple holes are clearly much funnier. Also, who are you making this commentary for? God, that's forced. This scene is so out of place and pointless. It was clearly set up by some Philistine who thought this is how ghost footage has to be structured. In my personal opinion, I think it would have been much more jarring and unsettling if nothing happened until I actually started fiddling with the stage. Side quest done, Ryan gets back to Reese and Cassidy so they can start their vandalism proper, systematically dismantling the set into easily reassembled pieces that will be a mild inconvenience for the production to rebuild before the show. They could have brought some axes and gone to town. Or maybe some gasoline? Do not tell me Blumhouse did not have the budget for that. Also, this is still technically vandalism. Doesn't this get reported to the police? Or is that why they're only disassembling instead of breaking? They think people will be more lenient just because they could have done worse?
Come on, my man. Let's hear some lines.
What?
August, speak! Please!
Don't worry, Mary. He wants me. He's coming.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
I'm doing the line.
Just say them better.
Why are you hanging out with this inbred?
Thou shalt be safe.
It should only be them there. Who else would be there at night? A spiritual presence, mayhaps?
Oh my God!
Viper!
Or an inexplicable love interest.
What are you guys doing here?
What are you doing here?
Yeah, I saw Reese's car. Reese, I saw your car in the parking lot.
That doesn't answer the question. Why are you there? She doesn't say, and everyone else are too rattled to question it, trying to think of a reason why they're there. Luckily, good guy Reese says they're there to practice his lines, so not to hurt her feelings on the matter. Cassidy is sensible enough to realize if the set's broken and Pfeiffer is there, she will realize they broke it. It's over, time to leave, but strangely the door they came through no longer opens. Nor does any other door. And even stranger...
I took that noose down.
Reese, what the hell is this?
Maybe the ghost overheard this excuse and is helping you pretend you weren't there to break the set.
Practicing? You're such a liar.
How does she know? The set was put back together again. So yeah, they're fucked. But right now priority number 1 is getting out of there. Which is proving very difficult as every door and window they try refuses to open. Their cells no longer have any signals and the phone lines are dead. And desperate for an exit, they rummage through drawers in search for a key, and every room in search for a door they haven't tried yet. Luckily, Pfeiffer spots one, behind a locker 30 feet down a hallway.
Where are we?
Maintenance area? A lot of schools have them.
Reese, can you hear that?
What's with that face? Are you a sea captain braving a storm? The movie decides now is the time to kick subtlety in the ass, when a TV suddenly comes on to display a mishmash of the camera footage from the opening, behind the scenes shots of the original play, and news broadcast, which all in all pretty much says outright, "The building's fucking haunted, y'all, and I'ma kill your asses!" Only there is a twist. It turns out Charlie Grimmel was supposed to play the hangman, but because Reese's father allegedly got sick last minute, changes had to be made, and Charlie ended up doing the hangman's jig.
Ryan! Guys, where's Ryan? Ryan? Ryan!
It seems Ryan's ego really is so big he believes every moment of his life has to be recorded, so even before losing the others, his phone cam was running. How convenient! Wait.
Hello.
Oh my god, it's Pennywise! Yeah! No, that would have been entertaining. He just runs through the prop room back into Reese and the girls, just in time for the soundtrack to GTFO, and heavy footsteps starts walking across the roof towards them.
Cassidy. Just come over. Cassidy!
Okay. Credit where credit is due. Saying that actually makes me realize Cassidy is probably the most likable character in this movie. She's been the least atrocious. She's the first to realize they need to leave. And she actually tries to fix the mess Ryan got him into. And yet, she's the first character the ghost attacks? Why? Showing a somewhat positive character trait, Ryan actually is concerned his girlfriend got hurt, and quickly starts blaming Reese for it, even though he's the reason they're there. And then Pfeiffer has a light bulb. She actually suggests they crawl through the air vents. This is so bad, it's downright hilarious.
Reese! I got this.
Wow. I can't decide who fucked up more, the Foley guy or the guy who edited that fall. Still, it's fun to see Ryan kicking and screaming. Well, not kicking, his legs is all kinds of broken, and Reese and Pfeiffer goes to try and find some supplies to try and fix it, only for the door to close between them and Ryan, and when the lock clicks open, Ryan is, thank God, gone from the movie, leaving only his iPhone behind.
Oh my god, Pete! Her neck is worse! Come on,
Gotta go. Get out.
Enough! What is the ghost's beef with this girl? She's done nothing to piss it off except topple some plants and break some bottles. Ryan is a jackass and it blames Reese's father for its death. And yet it's slowly torturing Cassidy? Why? At least we get to see what happened to Ryan, as, of course, he decides to take out his phone and record it. Come on, show us the leg, show us the leg. I don't know what to do. Ooh, that's satisfying. Could have been more blood, though. Why wasn't there? I'm not saying a broken bone has to be bloody, I'm just saying, you know, would have been nice if it was this time. He manages to make Cassidy so desperate to help him, for lack of anything else, she runs after Reese and Pfeiffer, leaving him alone when the door slams behind her and the whole room fills with sounds of slithering, whispering, and that oppressive deep tone coming from everywhere at once. Terrified, he tries crawling away, anywhere but towards the door his friends are behind, and then gradually the noise fades.
Guys, there's someone in here!
How were you controlling your breathing? You had an open fracture, dude. At that point, your body don't give a shit whether you want to stay quiet or not. You should have kept screaming in agony. I would have wanted to see his limp body hanging up there, slowly swaying back and forth, or maybe doing a jig, his legs kicking, trying to make a noise but unable to before his body goes still. This all becomes too much for Cassidy, who is left sobbing and weak, and while Pfeiffer tries to comfort her, Reese goes looking for a way out again. He finds one, building a tower of stuff to a window in the gym, and... power save bullshit! No camera shows that in the feed! So with the light dying, he picks up Ryan's phone for its night vision mode, only to turn around and suddenly the tower of stuff is gone. Yeah, Grimmel is not gonna let you go that easy. He even took the time to put your phone behind a combination lock. A very adroit ghost. And when Reese finally manages to break the lock and answer the call...
He wants me. He's coming for me.
I'm sorry I asked you to do this.
Why does he look so surprised? Did he not remember her asking him? Which leads us to the most memorable part of the entire film. The color shift is jarring and isn't explained until after the fact, but the build-up and tension and shock of this scene is so masterfully done, even watching it again has cold shivers running up my spine. Cassidy is sitting alone in the blood-red corridor as Grimmel's ghost appears in the corridor behind her. She picks up the camera and uses it to see how damaged her neck has become. It looks like a rope has been digging into it for hours. Then, a sudden noise behind her. Out of reflex, she pans the camera around with the turning of her head. Only there is no one there. But when she pans back... God damn, that's horrifying! Why wasn't the rest of the movie like this? If they had the talent to make a scene like this, I am left questioning if they made the rest of the film awful on purpose. You wonder why the corridor Cassidy was sitting in suddenly turned red? An inexcusable continuity error. Reese had a brilliant idea to turn the fire alarm on, and upon doing so, the red emergency light starts flashing. Not shining, flashing. But this isn't done until after Cassidy is taken by the ghost. There's no damn excuse for this. Moving on before I give myself a blood clot. Upon pulling the fire alarm, the ghost starts chasing Reese and Pfeiffer up a ladder, Slenderman style. First vanishing, and then appearing even closer. Movie. You're not a creature feature. Keep the ghost obscure. Oh yeah, close the door. That'll keep the ghost out. Strangely, it does. But I guess Pfeiffer also thinks ghosts should be immaterial and omnipresent, so she refuses to go into the darkness, not knowing what could be there. Reese says he'll go first, as if that'd matter, because suddenly the ghost remembers, oh yeah, I'm a spirit, doors can't stop me. Oh, so you walk towards the magically manifesting hangman's ropes. I promised myself I would stop ripping off other internet reviewers, but in this specific case, it is really, really hard to not do a Decker Shadow style face slap. So they carry on, and the ghost decides to remind them again why it's doing this, leaving the picture of Reese's dad on the walkway. Nah. Seeing Ryan's corpse for half a second doesn't really make up for his death being underwhelming. Cassidy is there as well, but we only see her feet. I guess Loafing and Clough thought they'd be cruel enough towards her, but it strengthens Ryan's resolve to get Pfeiffer out of there safely. And as if they'd caught a break, upon climbing down from the rafters, they find the door outside wide open. For just a second it seems as if they've made it, but when Reese turns around, Pfeiffer isn't behind him.
Pfeiffer?
Leave her.
Pfeiffer?
Leave her.
Pfeiffer?
God. Being illuminated on stage in a pose similar to the climax of the play, Reese figures out the ghost is interested in poetic revenge, forcing the son of the man he blames for his death to die the same way he did. Because it's not like the first person that was attacked in this film had fuck all to do with any of that. But anyways, he figures if he dies, Grimmel will let Pfeiffer go, so he does the selfless hero thing and puts the noose around his neck, only for things to take an unexpected turn. Instead of leaving, Pfeiffer continues the scene, referring to Reese as August, the name of his character. Reese begs her to go, but she continues reading her lines, and Grimmel manifests as the hangman and readies Reese to be hung. I guess that's fine. The audience seems to like it anyway, with a single person clapping from somewhere in the theater as Pfeiffer and the ghost of Charlie Grimmel bows to the audience. At a later date, the local police raids Pfeiffer's house, revealing her mother was in fact Charlie's girlfriend, and she's had some trouble letting go since he died. Made even harder by his spirit refusing to move on, of course.
Charlie Grimmel?
You shouldn't say that name.
Okay, so Grimmel's girlfriend became obsessed with him after he died. Pfeiffer may have been his daughter. And then his spirit came back, and it was all an elaborate 20-year-old revenge plot? You know those dime a dozen bargain bin teen slasher films that never became classics? This movie was that, with less blood. Making a found footage slasher film actually has a lot of potential. It could be a fun twist to what's become a pretty formulaic genre. The problem here is it wasn't produced with the limitations of found footage in mind. It was structured and presented exactly like a normal slasher film, but instead of changing the formula to fit the found footage style, they only used the technique to film it, and half the time it doesn't make any damn sense. I don't understand where the footage came from. There is an info screen that claims it's evidence in an investigation and thus assembled by the police department, but that doesn't come until 3 minutes into the film, suggesting someone edited it in, and there's no clue who would have done that or how it came to be distributed. Overall, I'm not sure why this movie was filmed as found footage at all, when it only makes the film more awkward. It doesn't really work as a slasher film either, despite having all the trappings of one. Fantastically unlikable and uninteresting characters get trapped in terrible circumstances and are picked off one by one. But the movie isn't tense enough to be exciting, and the deaths aren't interesting enough to be fun, and let's not forget, it's a freaking ghost movie. Ryan and Cassidy was annoyingly the most interesting characters, with Ryan being so insufferable he upstaged everyone else, and Cassidy, despite being so shallow, coming off as more innocent than anyone else, and still gets the brunt of the ghost's rage, and is never explained why. As for the other two, at first I thought Reese was Holden Caulfield, rebelling against everything and everyone, but it turns out he's Romeo Montague abandoning everything for a girl, making him even less interesting. Pfeiffer didn't seem to have any character until the end, but the dialogue is so poorly done when a character says something important to the plot, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And if you pay attention to what Pfeiffer says, you realize she knows exactly what's going on from beginning to end, and she's actually the reason for most of it. While an interesting twist, it doesn't change the fact that through most of the film, she was as interesting as a rice cake. As a whole, the story is cliché, the effects are bad, the setting is dull, and apart from 2 genuinely unnerving scenes, The Gallows is an unhallowed slog, and I give it a 3 out of 11. It's a high 3 for the scenes where Cassidy was attacked, but I can't in good conscience give it a 4 because a 4 is almost a 5, and 5 is almost a passing grade. And I am just stunned. An experienced studio like Blumhouse could fuck up this badly. I mean, I'm not even sure how a sequel could even be made from this mess. And because, I mean, are the people in town actually stupid enough to allow the play to be produced again? And if they are, what the hell are we in for next week?